What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Odd Shopper channel, coming to you with another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. It goes a long way for me on this video. Goes a long way for you. That way you become apprised whenever great betting content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. Pretty great weekend. Hopefully all of you had a fantastic time, whether it was Passover, whether it was Easter. Great to have you back here talking a little round ball, baseball round ball, if you will. NBA will be back Tuesday. This is going to be MLB only. If you're looking for my NBA stuff, doesn't exist for Monday because there's no NBA. That'll be Tuesday for the play-in games, 2 games. I'll have both of them covered for you then. But we've got a massive 14-gamer, almost every team in baseball going at it on Monday. So I guess we'll just kind of get right to it. Check out Bet365 in the link below if you haven't signed up in one of those 4 states. I'll talk about it a little bit later, so I won't kill any time here because we have a lot of baseball to talk about. You know what? Screw it. Let's just get to the picks. We begin our day with my team, the Minnesota Twins. Pretty decent start to the season, 6-3. Looking all right. 4-6, White Sox coming to visit here. And these are 2 pitchers that are off to fantastic starts, as you might expect, especially from Dylan Cease, who I picked to win the AL Cy Young coming out this year and hasn't done anything to disappoint that other than one alarming number, a 55% hard hit percentage. But when you have a 41% K rate now through 2 starts, doesn't matter if people can't hit the ball. So there is definitely that component to his game. It's the only early afternoon game that we have going here. Going up against Kenta Maeda here, it looks like it's going to be around 62 degrees, starting to warm up a little bit in Minnesota here after a pretty cold beginning to the season. They had the cancellation on Thursday, leaning into today, and my goodness, Kenta Maeda down in Miami, more of a pitcher's park than you've got here in Target Field, but looked phenomenal. His first game in a year plus. We're talking 79 pitches, but 9 Ks in that. That's a lot of swinging and missing from the Miami side, but I'm looking far more towards an under from both pitchers. I'm not feeling all that great about it. You're seeing this right around even money at the moment, and I think Kenta Maeda, just because of the 79 pitches, that was a ton of efficiency in a better pitcher's park. I think 7.5 is about efficient, but as it stands right now, without seeing props, that's the best line from this game. So I'm going to be leaning the under of 7.5 here. Not much to say about Cease other than he's been fantastic. Not much to say about Maeda other than we need a larger sample size. So under 7.5, a lean. We continue on. Next up, we have the Yankees taking on the Guardians. We've got Domingo Germán, not my favorite pitcher in all of the land. We'll talk about him going up against Shane Bieber, who I like very, very much. I think that's kind of the popular sentiment, but yet this line doesn't really reflect that, and I'm a little bit confused. Looking at Germán, he's had a crazy hot start to the beginning of the season in terms of Ks, 44.4%, but coming off a season last year where that was 19.5%, one start is not going to change the equation for me. It's 2 barrels that he saw over the course of those 75 pitches as well. You start getting something like a 20% barrel rate over a long period of time, and you would be out of baseball. Last year, not even that bad at 6.9%. He did a pretty good job of limiting that contact, but a 7.25 expected ERA, did not have a great first start of the season. So I'm a little bit confused why they're not wider favorites here, Cleveland that is, going up against this Yankees team. Nothing crazy because we all know the power that exists in that Yankees lineup, but that's kind of where Shane Bieber shines, is being able to be effective, not always racking up strikeouts the way that he once did. But we saw in that first outing, he's going to find a way to be effective. No walks, doesn't hurt himself, 261 xWOBA. That's about what we're looking at for a sample size over the course of the last 2 years, a little bit better than through 2 starts. 2.75 expected ERA. He's back to his old tricks. And that makes this a little bit strange to me. Cleveland's going to be a contact team. If Germán, for some reason, finds another massive strikeout game here, I apologize, but against this Guardians team, I don't expect them to be striking out very much against right-handed pitching. In fact, through the first couple of games, 21.4% K rate in 239 plate appearances against right-handed pitching. We're starting to accumulate sample sizes. So Cleveland, minus 135. I wouldn't be shocked if this moved to minus 145, minus 150, where it's a little bit more efficient by first pitch. So I like it. Nothing crazy. Again, I'm just a little bit surprised that we don't see Shane Bieber as a bigger favorite against Germán here. I think you probably should be too. So first play on the card, Cleveland money line. Baltimore up next here. They're going to be in Camden hosting the Oakland A's, who are not very good at baseball, but JP Sears on the mound for them, a lefty. Coming from the Yankees system, came over and he's been okay so far. Last year, nothing that was all that impressive. No Ks really to speak of. A 4.49 expected ERA over the course of that entire season. Right back at it, 5.07 expected ERA in that first outing. Not going to be reading too much into it, but remember, as a left-handed pitcher going into Camden, you get those extended fences in left field. That's a big deal, especially when you get hitters like Anthony Santander, who's a switch hitter, better from the right-handed side of the plate, hits with more pop, does strike out more also against lefties, so there's that. But muting something like that at the top of this lineup, a guy who's already been on the struggle bus early in 2023, I think that's a big plus up and down this lineup. We're not seeing a whole lot out of Gunnar Henderson yet. We're still waiting for a couple of guys to really hit their stride on Baltimore, so it's not the most difficult spot here for a lefty pitcher. On the Baltimore side, especially, we're going to see some other pieces that need to be able to help out because Kyle Gibson is not that dude in terms of starting pitching. I've said it multiple times on the show. I'm not impressed by anything in their starting rotation, and that's going to continue to be a huge blemish on the card for Baltimore. And I think it's going to create a lot of value when you get quote-unquote weaker teams. Well, I don't even need quotes. It is a weaker team in Oakland on the other side here, but plus 1.5 close to minus 130. I know a lot of you looking at putting these parlays together and things of that nature. Not my style. I think I'll be looking outright here on this one, but another small like play, plus 1.5 on the Oakland side. Again, up the variance a little bit when you get a pitcher like Kyle Gibson, who's just not all that good at this stage in his career, had over a 5 ERA, 4.46 expected ERA as a 34-year-old in 2022. I don't like a lot of his repertoire. I don't like the changeup all that much, the sinker combination, not really a fastball guy. So Oakland plus 1.5. I think this is a good spot to maybe get a little extra value on the cushiony 1.5. We finished out Friday with a home run call that was pretty nice. JT Realmuto, that made the card. Hopefully it made a lot of your cards too, because we've been running crazy hot on this program, whether it was Rafael Devers, JT Realmuto, and now we're going to go to a lefty from the Houston side going up against Rosie Contreras, but I should probably talk about Framber Valdez, who's been exceptional once again. Saw kind of a muted first outing and then found 9 Ks right from the get-go last time out. The big improvement that we saw from him last year, in addition to the fact that he has over a 65% ground ball rate, which is just, that's been routine throughout his entire career, is we started to see a better opportunity at getting strikeouts. We saw big strikeout outings from him from time to time. Even though the 23.5% K rate isn't anything crazy for a starting pitcher, we found upside in him multiple times. Now, there are going to be times where he's just getting the ball on the ground to some of these contact teams, and he's happy to do that. There's going to be other times where he's going to find those kind of 9 strikeout games. So he's just an efficient pitcher. He's really figured it out. That's shown by his 3.31 expected ERA last year, under 3 as at the moment in that department. So all things looking shiny for Framber Valdez. But Rosie Contreras on the other side is the guy that I kind of want to attack. And this is a young pitcher that I do still believe has some really good stuff. And I'm not going to look too much into that first outing. Just 78 pitches. Didn't really find any Ks whatsoever. Just 2 of those in that first outing. But feeling a little bit better about his opportunity against Houston. We just saw Minnesota rack up double-digit strikeouts with the likes of Joe Ryan and other, just Sonny Gray, another double-digit 16 strikeout outing. Just ridiculous stuff against this Houston team. Not the contact Astros days of yours. So I'm just saying, I do think there's strikeout opportunity, but you look at a guy like Kyle Tucker in the home run market. There's a couple of things that go against him that make him better than plus 300 almost every time out. Number 1, you see him batting 5th. That isn't very high in the order for a number of guys. Might be missing out on a quarter of an at-bat over a longer sample size compared to somebody batting higher in the order. The other part is that you have guys like not Framber Valdez, we just talked about him, Yordan Alvarez, who's an absolute beast inside of plus 300 all the time. But that provides a lot of protection for that of Kyle Tucker. And I find him to be one of the most likely candidates to go for 35 and 35. Yes, 35 homers, 35 steals, especially with the new improvements for base runners in terms of what we've seen from a stolen base standpoint so far in this young season. I like him to homer here, though. That's the thing. We've seen Anthony Rizzo go yard here a bajillion times as a lefty. I'm going to just be leaning, though, because I want to see what that number is, and I want to get well north of plus 300. If I can, something closer to plus 350. I'm not sure what the valuation is going to be here up against Roansy Contreras, but it's a pitcher who's struggled. It's going to be almost 70 degrees there in Pittsburgh for this outing. Kyle Tucker, as good of a play to hit a home run as anybody else, assuming you're getting that number. That's why it's a lean. Tampa Bay's pretty good at baseball. Should I end my analysis there? They're 9-0. The Tampa Bay Rays just going absolutely nuts on baseball right now. They've had some pretty cake puff matchups too. Washington, Oakland. Now you're getting Boston, though. We're going to start seeing what they're made of here going up against this lineup with a glorified bullpen game, but it's the Red Sox coming to Tropicana Field here, and Nick Pivetta on the mound for them. I've said this multiple times now when covering Nick Pivetta. I feel like I've covered him multiple times already this year, even though I think he's just had the 2 outings. He's had 1 outing, so there's that. Nick Pivetta in that 1 outing, still finding ways to be effective in terms of strikeouts from time to time. 6 Ks, 3 walks, but per usual, the home runs. There are solo shots up for grabs when you're facing Nick Pivetta. He's had extreme righty splits, given up more power to righties over the course of his career. So even against this Tampa Bay team that has a lot of lefties coming to the plate, very curious how this analytically forward Tampa Bay team constructs their lineup. With righty power, do you bring Isaac Paredes in there? Doubt it. Harold Ramirez, you're definitely putting in the lineup the way he's hitting the ball right now. Lots of interesting things I think this Tampa Bay team could do going up against them. But the other interesting thing for me is how Tampa Bay is choosing to go lefty-lefty stack. They've done this multiple times in the past. Kind of the originator of the opener are the Tampa Bay Rays. They're going to be starting with Jalen Beeks from the left side, throwing an inning or two, going to Josh Fleming being the assumed guy, going long there. And Josh Fleming isn't all that good, that's for sure. So far, just the 1 outing, 3 innings pitched, 10 hits given up and 71 pitches, but he was forced to eat some innings against Washington in that game. Didn't factor into the decision, obviously, because he gave up 1 million runs. You wouldn't expect that. So definitely going to be somebody that I'm not feeling great against going up against Boston. We've seen some serious power there from the Boston side. But the big piece of news I'm paying attention to is Adam Duvall left Sunday's game, and that guy has been raking from the right side. 455 average so far this season with 4 homers, 14 ribbies. Telling you, get him out of the lineup. And I am more interested in back in Tampa Bay -1.5 and just riding this train all the way to Jacksonville or Miami or someplace in Florida. See, I named 2 places in Florida. Orlando. Tampa Bay is going to probably match them anyway because they're just unstoppable in the moment. But righty power, Randy Arozarena, home run, anybody, maybe? Whatever, we're leaning -1.5 until Adam Duvall's status is known. We talked about Florida. Let me talk about 4 other states that have access to this promo. Well, Florida's not one of them. It was just a bit, and I was trying to think of a segue. But I digress. Here are your 4 states: Colorado, New Jersey, Ohio, and Virginia. When you deposit $10 or more over at Bet365 in the link below, bet $1, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. That's a guaranteed win. And I know a lot of people play for more than that. A lot of people play for less than that. But $200, if somebody just offered that up to you on the street, pretty sure you'd take that when I just give you $1, especially when you can put that $200 to work immediately in the baseball streets. We have the play-in game starting up on Tuesday. We're going to have tons of content for UFC, golf going forward, everything you could want here on the Odd Shopper channel. Take advantage of this promo. Again, it's only available in 4 states, unfortunately, at this moment. But if you're in Colorado, New Jersey, Ohio, or Virginia, take advantage of this now. No easier way to guarantee yourself a win in those 4 states than signing up in the link below for Bet365. Deposit $10, bet 1, get $200 in bonus bets. It's only if you're 21 and over, and if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Alrighty, y'all, back to the picks. We head to my favorite spot on the board, and can't believe I'm about to say what I'm going to say, but here we are, Miami taking on the Phillies in Philly. We've got Sandy Alcantara. We're talking the NL Cy Young winner from last season going up against Matt Strahm. And you could ring some kind of alarm bells other than the fact that his last game was a complete game shutout against the Twins. But that's beside the fact. We're seeing the strikeout rate come down instantly, just 13.2%. But he's always been a primarily sinker fastball changeup guy. Nothing has been crazy in terms of strikeouts for him his entire career, even in that Cy Young season last year. 23.4% K rate. But you know what he does? He limits damage. A 316x Wobacon, just a 5.6% walk rate in 2022. It's been a little bit higher in that department as well, 9.4%. But it's called sample size. He's looked great still. That fastball, as fast as ever, as lively as ever. Feeling pretty good about him here against a Phillies lineup that's just having a tough time finding its footing. Hence the 3-6 record. And on the other side of this one, we have Matt Strahm, who looked pretty good. He's kind of been filling in for Ranger Suarez, another lefty like Ranger Suarez here. Different pitch mix, but he's a fly ball primary pitcher with he threw 61 pitches against the Yankees last time out. Was really, really effective, only gave up one hit. But I want to point out one thing here. As we start accumulating sample size, I like to go to the splits and I like to look at WRC+. We're talking weighted runs created, and then you're factoring in the ballpark. You're factoring other metrics that tell you, 100 being the baseline, how good a team is against that handedness. Miami's third against left-handed pitching so far this season. Yes, just 38 plate attempts, but that's good enough for me to be locking it. With the NL Cy Young winner on the mound, what are we doing here getting minus 112 here? That was a question. You should answer that. Minus 112 Miami. That, my friends, is a lock. New York, but not the Yankees. We're talking the Mets hosting the Padres. The Padres playing right now. They're hitting home runs left and right. They're up 6-0 in the fifth right now. But that doesn't mean anything because the Angels blew a 6-0 lead. Can't even talk about it. It upsets me so much. But San Diego going up against Max Scherzer, who through 2 starts this year has allowed 4 home runs. Now, he's always been a homer-prone guy, but those are generally solo shots. He has an extreme fly ball rate, has his entire career, and then he mixes in a ton of strikeouts. But against some of these lefty-heavy teams, you gotta kind of tread a little bit lightly. That's what Walter White said once upon a time. Tread lightly. That was dark. But either way, Trent Grisham going yard here again tonight. Currently a 94.7 mile per hour average exit velocity off the bat. Matt Carpenter back up to his old trick so far. 14 batted ball events, a 681 expected slugging, which is just through the moon. Almost all of that against righties. Hey, Max Scherzer, righty, just throwing it out there. You get Juan Soto, of course, who's going to continue to just hit the ball hard, continue to get walks, generate runs. I don't know what to tell you. San Diego has enough lefties and enough pop here. I'm a little worried for Max Scherzer getting off to this rough start here. He's getting older. I think he'll be fine, but I at least have to be taking some shots on these guys until then because there will be no more value left if Max Scherzer is actually washed, but he's not washed. Don't want to go that far. But 12 hits and again, 4 homers through 2 games. Not an ideal start here for our guy, Max Scherzer, but on the other side, you're getting another ace going for San Diego. Yu Darvish, coming off of the World Baseball Classic, was limited. They pushed back that first start, faced Arizona, looked awesome. 5 innings pitched, just 1 earned, 91 pitches. Ground balls were there. The Ks really weren't. 3 Ks so far there. But against this Mets team, you're not going to find a ton of those. Up and down the lineup, Eduardo Escobar, you'll find some Ks. Francisco Lindor been striking out more this year, but not going to be a long-term thing. Will say, I don't expect him to generate a lot, but I think he can do just enough here. And I'm intrigued enough to see a number like this for Yu Darvish against a struggling Max Scherzer. We just got to find out, because if there's something going on with Scherzer here long-term, we want to be early to the party with home run props before all value is gone there. Don't go crazy. It's Max Scherzer, half unit. We're going to be playing San Diego money line, though. That's what it is. I like it. Yu Darvish, been the better pitcher through 2 starts, but just 2 starts, small sample size. Going to be an interesting one to watch tomorrow. Next up, we have Cincinnati going into Atlanta. I don't really know a lot of what to make of this one, besides the total, which is a little bit off to me, with Graham Ashcraft on the mound going up against Bryce Elder. And Bryce Elder, he is not elderly. He's 23 years old. Not looking great so far, though. Got barreled up. Did not look very good in that first outing. 79 pitches, 66.7% hard hit percentage. Now, that's not going to continue long-term, but it's at least alarming. I guess only 1 barrel in the middle of all of that action, but a 5.70 expected ERA. He found a way to be successful last year, 3.17 ERA, 4.25 expected ERA. But the slider, sinker, cutter, changeup, no real velocity to speak of. That fastball really that he doesn't throw. I mean, his velocity just tops out around 91, 92 miles an hour. Pretty worried about him just being not very good as a major league pitcher unless he can find some way to develop more swings and misses with this kind of an arsenal, or generate more ground balls with this kind of an arsenal. Because again, 11.7 degree average launch angle that first time out. Guess it was sub 10 degrees last season, but nothing that was all that enticing to me. We'll see how he's young. I don't want to be too hard on him, but I'll be hard on Graham Ashcraft on the other side. He's just straight out not very good. He's found ways to be successful so far this season, so props to him there. 23.1% K rate, 3.46 expected ERA. That was one start too. I don't want to go crazy about one starts. Last year, he had a 15.3% K rate. I think you could get on the mound. Well, no, you couldn't. I hate when people say that about athletes. They're very, very good at their jobs. But a 15.3% K rate, that was bottom 6th percentile in all of baseball last year against all major league pitchers. He's expected to just throw this cutter, has some velocity to it, but this Atlanta team definitely has some potency. Michael Harris being out, that's not exactly ideal for this lineup, but overall, I think there's enough juice on both sides of these lineups where we can hammer the over, and not in like a lock way, but like I very much like it way. I think Atlanta, they're just going to hit against everybody here going forward. And then Bryce Elder from the right side, you want Cincy facing righties with Fraley, with Vossler, with Friedel. I love everybody up and down that lineup from the left side. So just saying, Spencer Steer, he's righty, so it doesn't matter. Either way, Cincinnati gonna find ways to be effective against Elder, and I think Braves will definitely exploit Graham Ashcraft. Ran a little bit too good that first time out. Think it regresses a little bit here. It makes me very, very intrigued. Over 9. We're past the halfway point. Hit that like button for me. Working for you on Easter Sunday. Getting you guys set for Seattle facing the Cubbies. And Seattle, a little bit disappointing. I thought it was a pretty good investment. They lost an extra 7-6. It wasn't very good. Julio Rodriguez didn't get hits, and you couldn't get George Kirby to generate strikeouts, and it was just a cluster. Pretty much everything I did on Sunday was just bad. Good thing I didn't have to record this program, because again, it was bad. You know who's good, though? Luis Castillo at throwing baseballs, going up against Drew Smyly, who got obliterated in his first outing. But first, Luis Castillo, it's not good to be pitching outside of Seattle, because whatever. Seattle's one of the best pitchers parts that there is, but Chicago, looks like the wind's not blowing out here right now. Hope everybody jammed the under the other day. Just throwing that one out. 2-0. That was so beautiful. Shout out Stroman. He's actually looked really, really good against lefties again, but we'll start with Castillo here because that's the game we're actually talking about. Not me gloating about jamming an under of 9 that goes for 2 runs, but Luis Castillo, he just is up to his old tricks. We saw him in Cincinnati, extreme hitters ballpark be effective. Then he goes to Seattle, extreme pitchers park be effective. He's going to be good absolutely everywhere. Has yet to give up a run this season through 2 starts, just 1 barrel in 175 pitches. I am very happy with what we've seen from him. And it seems like the books aren't really factoring it in all that much. But the only reason that I have a little bit of apprehension is that I don't think Drew Smyly could be any worse in a million years than what we've seen through the first couple outings. Like, maybe he could be, but 9 hits, 7 runs against 6 earned, 93 pitches, had to eat some innings after a really bad start to that first outing. Who was it against? I'm pretty sure it was against Cincinnati, but either way, if it wasn't, you're going to let me know in the comment section below that I screwed up. Either way, Drew Smyly, it's not that he's that good of a pitcher, but you're going to see him kind of find ways to be effective against other righties. Like, Drew Smyly still found ways to limit damage over the course of the last few seasons, and not in an extreme way. Even that last game, it was more Babbitt than anything else. 21.1% hard hit rate. That would be elite beyond elite beyond elite. Blech, tongue twister. 35.6% hard hit percentage last season. Not going to go and blow you away with that curveball that's his primary pitch. Fastball tops out around 93, 94 miles per hour. Nothing special in terms of Ks. But again, he's just limited damage his entire career. That's why he's been in the bigs for as long as he has. So I expect him to have a better outing here. There's not really any value at minus 140. This Seattle team, I know that they're favored by a lot of people to succeed there in the AL. But outside of Julio Rodriguez, outside of Ty France, I'm not in love with an aging Eugenio Suarez. I'm not in love with the last 2 years of JP Crawford. I truly think Cal Raleigh is their next best hitter. third best hitter. I'm not going to go Teoscar Hernandez here at the moment. I guess by positionality, it's definitely Cal Raleigh. I'll say Teoscar Hernandez just in terms of what he's seen long term. But AJ Pollock has been actually carrying some of the weight here offensively, and that is not a good thing at this stage of his career. So this Seattle team, I think we're just going to be leaning on their side because you are getting a stud in Luis Castillo that you're being able to back inside of minus 150. But it feels a little bit like a thin play on a 14-game slate. So, just saying, maybe we can get a little bit better number than minus 140, but right now, I think we just pass. Not going to be passing here. We're going to Kansas City visiting Texas in Arlington. 8.5 total. Interesting. Very interesting. We'll talk about that. Andrew Heaney on the mound here for Texas, going up against soft-tossing Zach Greinke, the bane of my existence. Why won't you die, as Austin Powers would say, but it's true. He's just finding ways to be effective still at this stage of his career, and it's really frustrating to me and my wallet. He's still not generating strikeouts. He had a 12.5% K rate last year over the course of a massive sample size. 16.7% now through 2 starts, but just a 2.38 ERA. How is he doing this? I don't understand. He throws at 90 miles per hour at best. On his best days, has to mix in a changeup that's barely off of that 90. I don't understand how his pitch mix is still being effective. So you know what? There's things you can do about that. You can invest on overs and things, especially because Andrew Heaney talked about it. I think the Dodgers did an amazing job at kind of making him the pitcher that they needed who could just generate tons of strikeouts. But if that goes away, the hard hit is such an issue for him, especially against some righties. And there are some interesting righties there on the Kansas City side. Interesting lefties too. MJ Melendez going to hit both sides pretty well, I think. But looking at that last start, I know it's just one outing, but 69 pitches, 3 barrels right from the get-go. I think there's a great opportunity to invest in the over of 8.5 here. Arlington, this lineup, the Texas side has been hot. Please, just get after Greinke. Do some things for me. And then Kansas City on the other side. Lots of guys who are generating well north of a 90 mile per hour average exit velocity off the bat. That is good stuff. Over 8.5. Think there's some runs in play here. To Coors we go. You had a 1-0 game, then you had a 1,000,000 to 1,000,000 game, and you never know what you're going to get here at Old Coors, but you're going to get some shootouts from time to time when you get a lineup like St. Louis coming here. They're facing the Rockies here. German Marquez on the mound for the home team. We've talked about him a lot on this program as well in the early going of this season. Pretty wild to see him. Let me do this one more time. I just lost my spot. We're going to Coors, where we had a 1-0 game to open up our Coors stint for the season. Then we had a 1,000,000 to 1,000,000 with leadoff homer going up against Jose Urena. Lots of weird stuff you're going to get in Coors, but just get ready for it all season long. But you're going to see more shootouts when lineups like St. Louis comes to town here. It's going to be Steven Matz on the mound there for the Cards, going up against German Marquez, who we've talked about a lot on this program. We liked him very much when we backed him going up against San Diego, that first game of the season, 7-2 W. Then it faded off there in Dodger Stadium. Still was okay for the most part, 95 pitches. Kind of lost it there in that 5th inning towards the end of it. Interesting start. Going through some of the numbers, though, everything looked about normal. We've just seen extreme home road splits for him, just like you would expect for every single pitcher who primarily pitches here at Coors. Now, when you get a road pitcher, Steven Matz, first thing that I always go to, what is the ground ball rate? What is their primary pitch? Because curveballs, they aren't going to move as much. And then you also got to find ways to generate ground balls, because if it gets up in the air, crazy things are going to happen in Coors, like 500-foot home runs and doubles in the gap in the largest ballpark dimensions that exist in baseball. And Steven Matz, 28% K rate now through that first start. Cool stuff. 26.1% last season. That's really good from the lefty as well. You do get guys like Chris Bryant, some generally very good right-handed bats. CJ Cron, if he's going to be in that lineup here, I think it's just a team that Colorado, it's not the most difficult lineup to get through, but CJ Cron, also another guy who didn't start on Sunday, have to wait on his status here. I don't think he's going to end up playing, though. It's too early in the season. That's a righty that they're really going to need. I think he probably gets the night off, and that is a huge absence from the right side there for this Colorado Rockies lineup. And I think the thing about Matz that can be effective is just him getting the ball on the ground. 5.5 degree average launch angle in that first start. Now it was 13.9 degree in a much larger sample last season. But when he had a massive sample, we're talking 3 times the sample size in 2021, sub 10 degree average launch angle, 32.2% sweet spot percentage, basically just saying he found ways to be effective limiting hard hit. That resulted in a 36.2% number over the course of last year, 37.9% the year before that. Those are great numbers to see. So, Steven Matz, think he's good enough to be backing here at a minus 130 number. You get a Cardinals lineup that has the Brendan Donovan, the Nolan Gorman, who's been incredible against righties here from the early going. Thumbs up. St. Louis, Nolan Arenado homecoming, I believe. St. Louis gets it done for us. I'm very upset with this Angels baseball team. Very, very upset. Yeah, I shouldn't be, though. We smashed on Saturday, ended up jumping in the premium Discord, which you can sign up for below using promo code Lindy. Got some very, very nice numbers, smashed the Angels. It was a beautiful day, but Sunday up 6-0. The bullpen gets completely depleted, and that's what leads us into today. 9.5 total. That's not high enough for these two pitchers on the mound. Just throwing it out there. We have Patrick Corbin. I almost said Corbin Burns, which he's having problems of his own. But Patrick Corbin on the mound going up against Jose Suarez. A battle of two southpaws. And boy, oh boy, they have not been good. Patrick Corbin, we're talking the second most paid player on the Washington Nationals. 2 players who pick up over half their payroll this season. Put the other one in the comment section below. Show me your baseball acumen. Yeah, I'm throwing trivia out on this program now. I bet you can't guess it. It's Steven Strasburg. Thought I'd ruin it. But 9.62 expected ERA, 8 ERA so far through 2 starts for him. Last year, a 6.41 expected ERA. Tons of barrels, tons of problems. Righty power, lefty power. Doesn't matter who you are. Everybody gets a homer against Patrick Corbin. And Jose Suarez, oh boy. Not the start that you wanted from him. 61.1% hard hit percentage. We're seeing some warmer temperatures out there in LA. Just throwing it out there. I think this is going to be a spot where you want to invest in the over. So much so that I'm going to call it a lock because Jose Suarez didn't really believe in some of the changes he made last year to have a 3.67 expected ERA. I know it's early, but that fastball, not really looking that great so far. I think this is a spot where we're looking for runs. Over 9.5 coming off of a 12-11 game on Sunday? I'm not chasing. I'm just saying, Angels bullpen depleted. Washington doesn't have one. Lock it, baby. This game should go pretty quickly for us. We have Wade Miley on the mound going up against my guy, Zach Gallen. But unfortunately, this is kind of a tough spot to say I want to go out of my way to back Zach Gallen. Basically, he's a guy that I think from a strikeout perspective isn't going to blow you away. But last year, 26.9%, that kind of blew me away. His rookie season was his best up until then, 28.7%. Not generating the same swings and misses, not getting away with missed pitches early in this season. Just a 20.4% K rate with a 3.97 expected ERA. That would be okay, but it's resulted in a 7.59 ERA because just issues with walks for the first time in a while. 8.2% doesn't seem like a huge spike, but coming off of 6.6% last year, getting a little bit BABIP'd. But for the most part, I can't necessarily go with Zach Gallen here. You get this Milwaukee team that I think against righties, that's going to be their forte. A 119 WRC plus so far. That's 7th best in baseball. Just a 20.8% K rate and walking at a 14% clip. Getting on base, and they can all run. Getting the 3rd most walks against righties. So not an alarm bell situation here yet. We don't have a large enough sample size to see Zach Gallen here. And what we're seeing from him, I don't notice a whole heck of a lot coming off of last year's velocity numbers. Still 93, 94. I would like to see that cutter and that curveball start to get some more swings and misses, but it's early in the season. Pitchers finding their footing. Speaking of that, Wade Miley, he overachieved first time. He found his footing right from the get-go. What an outing we had from the lefty going up against the Mets. Complete shutout there. Well, not complete game shutout, just shut him out in his 6 innings. 12 fly balls, though. Just throwing it out there. I think that's a little bit of my concern. Yeah, I said I wasn't going to spend no time on this game. Ended up breaking it down in depth just to land on plus 1.5 Milwaukee. As much as I love my guy Gallen, it's not a good enough number. Think we want to be passing, moving along, finding a better spot later in the day. And by later in the day, I mean one spot. the Dodgers, the Giants, something that I do like here exists. And we've got Jose Urena on the mound, who's just been filthy to start off this season. 2 back-to-back 6-inning outings. Not getting a crazy amount of pitches here, but that's kind of the way the Dodgers have always treated him. Always put on the kitty gloves for him from time to time. 79 and 87 pitches in those outings, but the ground balls, oh, I love to see it. 5 and 10 of those, because when the ball gets in the air, it can go anywhere. Except for it's in San Francisco, so ground ball is probably the same thing as a fly ball for the most part. Even though we did see more runs coming through San Francisco last year, but Logan Webb is kind of the guy that I don't know what to make of. We saw that massive 12 strikeout game against the Yankees, came back down to earth against the White Sox with 4 of them. But I think he might have gotten a little bit unlucky in this outing. I like what we've seen from him so far. A 35% K rate with a 4.3% walk rate in 2 outings and a 267 xWOBA. I think he got really unlucky to get 8 runs hung up on him so far. He has a 2.88 expected ERA in those 2 outings. Those would be the best marks of his career. Now, do I want to go out of my way to back San Francisco against the Dodgers lineup? No. Do I want to go out of my way to try to make that a thing? No, I do not. But I think the under of 7.5 is very much in play. Logan Webb getting unlucky. Jose Urena been awesome, undeniably awesome. Despite the prowess of this San Francisco lineup from time to time, we saw him put up 1 million runs in Chicago the other day. It's almost all from the left side with the Jock Petersons of the world, the Michael Confortos of the world. Lots of pieces that are going to be neutralized facing a lefty like Urena. So I think a like of under 7.5 rounds out our day. Thumbs up. See you guys on Tuesday. And that does it for another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Head to that comment section below. Let me know your favorite spots on Monday's card. Really looking forward to this one. A whole day of baseball. You start in the morning, finish at night. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Can't wait. I will see you all again on Tuesday. Don't forget about Bet365. Check that out. Check out the premium Discord. So many great things going on here at Odd Shopper. So little time. So until Tuesday, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the MLB streets on Monday.